about it. And like you said, actually, you look at the quarter breakdown, the Blazers were in 3 of the 4 quarters, but there's a little bit of a clown show in that third quarter. I will say, kind of, I was like playing that, that Rhapsody saxophone music, some of that part of that quarter. But I will say, kind of a highlight tonight. I'm glad Giannis didn't get hurt, but he's overly dramatic quite a bit. He's learned to become quite the actor out there. But when he basically acted like he was just crushed in the vice grip of the Blazers. Winslow is trying to hold him up by his neck, and his eyes are literally. I'd love to have that picture. It looks like he was put into a major wrestling chokehold.
Yeah, Giannis is so good. Like, it's so hard. Like, you can go in with a game plan about trying to limit this or limit that, but he's so long and so talented, and he's just so much bigger than everyone else. Like, he's just a tough matchup. The guy's a freak of nature, and tonight he was terrific. 16 of 24, 37 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. Like, that's what he does every night. He's a freak, man.
Yeah, he moves. His body moves like a guy his height and build should not be able to move. I mean, he is just a master with the ball in his hands. Other than his crappy free throw shooting, that's the only thing you can really mark him down on. I mean, everything else, he had, remember the step back where his foot was kind of up in the kung fu position, and he put a gorgeous shot down, and that was basically a free throw. I'm like, maybe you ought to shoot your free throws that way.
Yeah, they really dominated the paint tonight. 56 points on 28 of 42 shooting. And you're right. I mean, really, what does Giannis need? He's pretty much got everything. Continued work on the three-point shooting and become more consistent at the foul line. Outside of that, it's like defensively legit. Offensively, just a beast in the paint. And he's great in the open floor, too. He's tough. And, man, he can hold that basketball he palms it like a grapefruit, man. He's got the big hands. It's amazing.
Yeah, he has incredible hand control. I mean, it's literally almost like a superhero playing basketball. But I want to say on Shaedon Sharpe, tonight was probably the first game we can actually look at him and say, he had one. Like you said, you called it perfectly. You're going to have those kind of games where, you turn the ball over a couple times, everything you try doesn't work. His shot always looks good because he's got a beautiful stroke, but he just wasn't going in. And, it's kind of good he has one of these kind of games because then, he'll work extra hard. But he's got everything to be great going forward, and maybe he can be on a smaller level freak in the future. And but the effort was there. Effort was good. I will say this, though. Giannis is so great. They have good players on the team. I mean, Drew Holiday obviously is a fantastic guard, but that punchable face Allen guy, I mean, talk about a guy who landed in the perfect place. I mean, come on.
Yeah. He's got douche written all over him. There's no question. He's one of those guys where if he's not playing for your team, you just want to put an elbow in the ear. There's no question.
Yes, exactly. And then Punch Bob Punch Bob there.
Yeah, Lopez.
With his, what's his name? Bobby Portis.
Oh, yeah,
Punch
Portis.
Bob.
Yeah, Portis is tough.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, his just, he talk about overreacting. I love the turnstile where I think it was Ant went right by him, and he literally did a turnstile, and Ant just went like, nice defense there, Punch Bob. Hey, bravo, though, I thought this was one of Ant's better games. I mean, this is a night where, like you said, without the extra shot makers, you can't afford a team like Milwaukee. You can't shoot that kind of poor percentage from 3-point range.
Yeah, it's true. And you're right about Ant. I know a lot of people that they're quick to criticize Ant, but I'll tell you what, he's developing, he's building off of what he did last year. And think about the role. So he goes from playing with Dame, where he's the second option, and now he's got to put on the other hat and really direct the team, lead the team, and not only keep his teammates involved, but be the primary scorer. Like he's taken on a large role with this team early on with very little playing experience. And I just like what I'm seeing from the guy and his mentality after the games. He speaks, he answers all the questions, doesn't appear to get too high or too low. So there's a lot of things he's doing right now that I'm impressed by.
Yes, very mature, and I like what I see, and I have no worries that once the team is healthy, and let's knock on some wood here, and stays that way, it's going to be a good team. Blazers are going to be a good team. It's going to be a tough road trip. I mean, they're going to get some giants on this trip, but they're still going to be in every game. I mean, they are that hard-working of a team, and you know what? Later on, when the shots are falling, because hey, Dame will go nuclear at a time or multiple times this year. It's going to be fun to watch, and they're going to win plenty of games this season. I'm excited. Thanks, Chad.
You got it. There you go, Kenny in Vancouver. The Blazers fall tonight by a final score of 119 to 111. Milwaukee Bucks get the win, and the Blazers tonight. They struggle once again with turnovers. The Bucks got 23 points off of 16 Trailblazer turnovers. But like I mentioned before, I'm okay with that. If the turnovers are happening because they're making an effort to really move the basketball and move bodies, then no problem. You know, do what you got to do. Keep playing basketball the right way, and eventually those other things will come. And the defensive effort tonight, they were contesting at times much better. You know, just better energy all the way around than what we saw on the road trip. We're also live right now on YouTube. The YouTube stream is up, thanks to Chris Burkhart, who's got everything working. How do we look on camera tonight? Pretty sexy? Not bad?
Well, you always do. I can't speak much for me. Ralph hasn't called back in to comment on my man bun yet. But
You're a beautiful man.
But no, we're up, looking good, hopefully sounding good. But yeah, that was an adventure getting on, baby.
We had a lot of things going on all at the same time.
Hey, I like that. You know, you got it forged under fire.
Forged under fire. Chaos. All right, you can jump on board 503-248-0620. So Portland now will get a day off. They're going to travel to Cleveland. They'll take on the Cavs on Wednesday. Portland is not flying out of Milwaukee tonight. They're going to leave tomorrow. So the guys will get a chance to sleep in their same beds tonight. They'll get up and head out to Cleveland tomorrow at some point and get ready for that matchup with the Cavs, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, coming up on Wednesday. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. You can jump on board 503-248-0620 if you'd like. I'm sure a lot of you are checking out Monday Night Football. Burkhart's a big 49er fan, and they're crushing the Cardinals right now in Mexico City 38-10. It's a good night for you, Burkhart. Not bad at all. You got to like to see that.
Not bad at all.
That showdown in Seattle with the Seahawks coming up is going to be awesome.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful, man. Kind of want to go down to it.
Who would have thought that Seattle, San Francisco would be battling it out down the stretch for the division crown this year? Wild.
Not I.
All right. 503-248-0620, fifth quarter. The Bucks over the Blazers tonight, 119-111.
When it's time to make dinner, I always trust Oregon Dungeness crab. It's sustainably harvested, uniquely delicious, and always wild. My kids and husband love Oregon Dungeness crab's tender texture and sweet taste. And I love that it's a great source of protein, minerals, and amino acids, and low in fat and calories. It's a great tasting meal I can serve with peace of mind. The perfect appetizer or entree for holiday get-togethers or a Friday night treat. Oregon Dungeness crab always sounds good for dinner.
Be sure to join Justin Myers Saturday morning at 9 as he broadcasts live from Corval. All right, great to hear from my man, TriMet Pete, who is now enjoying life in retirement. He's on his way to the beach right now, according to the YouTube chat. And I told him to send me a picture of his dog. He's heading out there right now. What's up, Pete? Always good to hear it from you. And you're right, the boys did look better tonight. Did you see that, Burkhardt? It seemed like the body language and the overall energy of the team, even though it was a loss, was much better than what we saw in the last two games against Utah and Brooklyn.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I thought so as well, especially from Yusuf Nurkic. Hart looked to kind of get in a groove. I liked a little bit of that, I know, overused term, but that dog that Jeremy Grant was showing. Like, yeah. Dude, they weren't backing down from Giannis, which I loved. And, yeah, so I do think they righted that ship, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. And you know how these NBA seasons work. We get so caught up in the moment, but there's ebbs and flows throughout the course of an NBA season. Very rarely does a team just smoke through the entire year without some sort of a hiccup, right?
Yeah,
Blazers got off to a strong start, and then, now they're going through a bit of a hiccup, but that happens.
The thing is, Chad, getting off to the strong start and then having a little bit of a hiccup, it's easier to recover than coming out of the gate, tripping over your own 2 feet and face planting, right? Now you finally get up and you get your bearings back, and the rest of the field is already ahead of you. So those wins early in the season, going to SAC, going to LA, getting the two or three of Phoenix, those are looming large right now. So getting out of the gate fast was far more important than this hiccup is to being detrimental.
Yeah. And again, I keep going back to what Lamar Hurd was talking about a couple of weeks ago with, we always focus on the result, right? They win. Or did they lose? But they're going through a process right now, the coaching staff and the team, and the coaches are continuing to work with these guys on both sides of the ball in terms of how they want them to play. And it's a process, meaning you're going to see some growth, then you're going to see some struggles. It's not a straight line trajectory upward. There's going to be some moments, some hiccups through the process, and that's okay. That's what you'd expect from a team, especially a team with some young players. And because of all the nagging little injuries so far this year, think about all the different guys that are not only getting playing time, but thrust into different roles. Even for Ant, playing with Dame is totally different than playing without.
Not only that, I mean, you were brought in now to be the two guard, right? And now you have to go play the one. And yes, he gets minutes at the one even when Dame's healthy, but it is completely different preparing to be that guy, or Shaedon Sharpe getting starter minutes. These things matter. So it is interesting how Billups gets to balance out that lineup, because he really hasn't had his true starting five that many games together.
Is Giannis the best player in the NBA right now?
I think so.
Yeah. A lot of people are noticing that when he puts the knee out on that little jumper, it's impossible to guard.
It's like Dirk Nowitzki, right?
Yeah. What do you do?
That little knee and that turnaround. Yeah, it's impossible.
Because if you make contact, you'll get called with the foul. He's going to create space and get the look he wants. Plus, with his arms and his length, you can't block his shot.
Not only that, I mean, I know you got KD, who's a stud too, but like, how often in your NBA fandom have you seen a 7-footer who can get out and run like that? Like, he is a freight train in the break.
LaMarcus was the same way, where he, in the open floor, looked like a gazelle, just running freely. When I was younger, we had a couple of guys in school that were the big center types on the basketball team, and they were skilled in the paint and on the block, but if you got them out in the open floor, a gangly mess.
Yeah.
It was not good. But now, with the way that these athletes are being trained from a young age, the 7-footers, guys like Giannis, they can run freely. Heck, we've seen it with all the highlights that are popping up on social with Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And the things he's doing at well over 7 feet. Like, it's like, what?
Yeah, see, but that's also, to me, it's different, though. Like, Wembanyama is showing off some crazy handles for a 7-footer who's got, like, a 20-foot wingspan. But, like, when Giannis, when he gets out on the break, Chad, he is a tank mixed with a cheetah. Like he's not a gazelle. He is a tank running as fast as a cheetah, and all you can do is just get out of the way, or you're just going to be obliterated.
I saw some weird stat. Speed. I got to give you this number because it's just mind-boggling of how fast a cheetah can run. Somewhere between 50 and 80 miles per hour.
They fast.
That's ridiculous.
Right?
50 to 80?
Yeah.
My grocery getter can't go as fast as a cheetah.
My grocery getter.
I mean, you're going to be kidding me. Oh, man. I can only imagine how much easier the game is when you have a teammate like Giannis. He draws so much attention. And then the great thing about him is defensively, he makes up for so many deficiencies. Like if you make a mistake, it allows you as a defender on the perimeter to be so much more aggressive and take chances because, like, well, if I mess up, I've got my boy there to clean up the mess after me.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Wouldn't that bring a lot of freedom with the way you play defensively?
Not only him, but I mean, Brook Lopez is one of the best shot blocking bigs in the NBA right now. And it's not Hassan Whiteside blocks where, like, yes, he had a lot of them, but a lot of them weren't, quote, good defense. Brook Lopez is playing phenomenal defense. So, yeah, definitely.
You had me watching Lopez tonight, and he still looks good. He's playing really good basketball for them tonight. Lopez, 30 minutes of action, 6 of 12. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 blocked shots. He had 5 blocked shots. That's good.
Yeah, that's real good. And he does, like I said, they're not just blocks where he's just like at the rim, jumps up and gets a block, 2 inches from the orange. Like he moves around and affects shots. Like he's having some of the best years of his career on the defensive side of the ball right now when he should be having this downturn. But no, man, he's aging like a fine wine.
Who was the block that Eubanks had? Was that on Portis? He had one block.
That was a good one, yes.
Was it Portis?
Portis.
Oh! I see that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a manly block. He went straight up, made the play, and, again, he's doing those type of things on a regular basis. I like that.
Yeah. You love it.
My public apology and plate of crow coming in the near future for Drew. What a stud. I mean, the guy plays well. I think now I can say with confidence, best bargain in the NBA. For what the Blazers are getting out of him on the vet men, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better bargain.
Maybe I'll do some research. I'll have to go through. But you're not wrong. I mean, he's a phenomenal backup center right now. I mean, he deserves a ton of credit. I know you always say, eat crow. But at the same time, Did we expect, like, this is a kind of a jump for him.
Yeah.
Like, this consistency and this level of play. And, again, he said it at camp when he talked to Dwight and I at Media Day about how last year coming to Portland, he questioned himself. He didn't know if he really loved the game anymore, didn't know if he belonged in the NBA. But despite the losses and the tough year in the standings, last year in Portland was the most fun he's had playing basketball. And I think Coach Billups has kind of got that out of him, man.
Yeah, sometimes it's just situation and coaching. What I did, and a lot of people are like, oh, Chad, how could you not see it based on what happened last year? Well, I don't put a lot of stock in tank seasons or situations like Portland had last year where you've got a lot of guys playing that don't normally play. They're playing out the string at the end of the season in games that don't matter. So I don't put a lot of weight into the stats and the inflated stats that those guys are putting up. So I did not expect what we saw from Eubanks in that action last year to continue this season. I just didn't think it would, but it has. And I think you're right. It's not a continuation of what we saw last year when the Blazers were tanking. I think that through coaching and effort, Eubanks has just elevated his game. And you're right. He deserves full credit for that because it didn't come easy. For him to get to that level and do what he's doing right now, that means he worked his ass off.
Yeah.
Props to him.
Yeah, and to your point, like I agree. I know it sounds weird, but I don't necessarily think it's just a pure continuation because a lot of those guys, again, numbers inflated with the way they're playing this and that. Like this is a guy who just wants it, man, and has put in work and kind of found that groove. So yeah, he deserves a ton of credit for finding that.
All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 119-111 the final tonight as the Bucks take out the Blazers. Portland now with 3 straight losses. They are 10-7 on the year. Next game's coming up Wednesday in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. So if you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620, you can do so. We'll keep things rolling here in the fifth quarter. Chris Burkhardt and Chad doing with you. Also live on YouTube. We tweeted out the live link. You can also go to YouTube, pull up Rip City Radio, and click on the live link there. And you'll be able to check out the show, the video, see what's going on here in studio. You're not going to find a better-looking mug or 2 mugs anywhere else in town right now than Chris and myself. So check us out on YouTube. 503-248-0620, fifth quarter here on 620 Rip City Radio. We're live on YouTube right now. Go to the Rip City Radio YouTube page. Click on the live link. You can check us out in studio. Fifth quarter, Chad doing Chris Burkhardt. Telephone number 503-248-0620. I think the voice of the Trailblazers, Travis Demers, is going to join us here in a few minutes from the road since they're not traveling tonight and they're going to travel to Cleveland tomorrow. He's going to call in and we can talk some hoop with him. You know, I think Kenny's right on the YouTube chat, Chris, where he said that, you know, Nurk was much more in control tonight. And I think he's right. Nurk was more under control. And that's a good sign because this is a game and the matchup I thought that did not favor him. I really thought Nurk might struggle tonight, but he held his own. He wasn't brutal. I didn't see him out of position. His body language was good. He seemed to be engaged tonight, so that's good. That's what they need from Nurk. They need more nights, more effort, more consistency like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. In control. He looked aggressive early. The thing with him is you just can't knock him off that pedestal. It's easy for him to get knocked off a little bit, and then he can, wobble, and then it becomes hard to get back in that groove for him. As the debate's going on in the chat, who's having the better year this year? Who's the better center, Nurk or Eubanks? And nobody is going to argue that Eubanks is a better center than Yusuf Nurkic, but he's been more consistent this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you're comparing the two guys, Nurk has the more God-given ability, size, reach, soft touch, you name it. He's got all the tools to be a legit center in the NBA. But the one element that Eubanks has and Nurk doesn't is a more solid mental approach to the game.
Yep.
So he's not going to go through those lulls mentally like Nurk does. And while he's not going to put up 5x5 numbers and have those ridiculous nights, like you said, the coach can count on him. The coach knows what he's going to get from Eubanks every night. Hard work, intensity, good effort, and he's going to shoot a high percentage around the rim.
Yeah, and at the same time, I mean, I maybe a few times in there, but majority of the time, Yusuf Nurkic is not making that block on Bobby Portis, let alone, he might not even attempt it. He likes to make business decisions, Chad.
Yeah, and I understand that. Let's check in here. Yeah, Drew Eubanks, I just continue to be impressed with the mindset, his work, the way he attacks. There's something to be said about guys like Drew Eubanks. He knows his role in the NBA. He's not confused. He just works hard. And if you work really hard in practice and then you take advantage of those opportunities in the games, the coaches will find a way to get you more minutes. The advantage for Chauncey now is that if Nurk, and we haven't seen this before during Nurk's time in Portland, if Nurk is struggling for whatever reason, then Chauncey's got someone else he can turn to give that instant energy off the bench. That's a great luxury to have as a coach. You have a guy on the bench you trust that you can put in if Nurk's, going through whatever struggles he's going through.
It's big time. I mean, you go back to when they had Ennis, Freedom, right? When they had him, you could afford to put him in, but only for offense. There was such a big disparity between he and Nurk defensively that if Nurk was having a bad night, you couldn't just throw Ennis in there. You had to try to, go with the flow and manage that properly, because once you put Ennis in, your defense just took a hit. Right now, you can afford to make these plays because Eubanks is playing such better defense than Yusuf Nurkic. So what you lose offensively is okay, because it's not like you're giving up a ton more points by putting him on the floor.
And I've got so much respect for what Cantor did for the team. He gave them everything he had. And he stepped up big time when Nurk went out with that injury a few years ago.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the ability to move laterally on defense.
Yeah, it was
couldn't
brutal.
do it.
I mean, he gets a bad rap now for things he's done since he left Portland and this and that, but you can't discount what he did during that run. He was a key component to making that Western Conference final run with the separated shoulder, no less.
I had one of the funniest tweets, and I got to give him credit because Turner was one of the funniest guys on the team. And I remember, I think it was that playoff game where Ennis got the injury to the shoulder, right? And he sent out that picture on the trainer's table and put it out on Twitter. And Turner retweeted it and tagged it and said, "Hella drama."
ET's the best. ET's the best. I tweeted about a month ago, I guess it was the anniversary of the Blazers getting stuck in the elevator, and I tweeted how what was great about it was we were interviewing Mo Harkless interviewing ET, and Mo Harkless comes over and grabs Brooks' mic and starts asking ET questions, and ET just goes, "Come on, man, you got to get this," and he slaps my camera and points it at Mo, and I tweeted that at him, and he tweeted back, he's like, "Yeah, I hope I didn't break your camera. Sorry about that."
Dude, yeah, he was a cool cat, man, and I respected that about him, but I always thought that was funny. he was not afraid to call out a teammate if he thought what was going on was soft or if there were shenanigans. All right, let's go out to the phones. The voice of your Portland Trailblazers and my former partner, Travis Demers, who is in Milwaukee. The team's going to stay the night, so he's got a little extra time. He's calling in. What's up, TD?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Well, I was just talking with Burkhart earlier about the Pfizer Forum there in Milwaukee. He said it's beautiful. I think you told me the same thing. How nice is that arena?
Yeah, it's really nice. The way it used to be set up for us for radio is we had our own little booth, which doesn't happen very often in basketball. And then TV was on the floor. Well, this year they decided, we're going to make a few more bucks. We're going to pull TV off the floor. So they put TV in the booth that we were in and moved us to the other side of the arena. It was fine. I mean, the location is fine. But that means that we're right there on the concourse. So, to get out and use the bathroom or anything, we have to go out in the concourse. And the concourses, the restaurants, the team shops, everything is awesome. They really did a nice job with that place.
That's great. All right, what was your takeaway from what you saw tonight? The Blazers kicking off the 4-game road trip without Dame in Milwaukee. We knew this was going to be a tough trip. What were some of your takeaways from what you saw tonight?
Well, you played a better team without your best player, right? I mean, that's usually not a recipe for things to go well. But, every time that they seemed to get down, they didn't stay down. I know there was the one big run, late in the game, okay, and so the starters came out and they got it to 14. But what I love about this team, it doesn't always win you games. It helps you stay in games. But whoever's on the floor, they're not quitting. And the effort is there. Sometimes they'll be in a situation where, for whatever reason, the spacing is bad on offense and they miss 5 or 6 shots in a row and they get down by 12 or 13. And then all of a sudden they turn it up. So being more consistent would be great. But I love the fact that really no matter what the situation in the game is, whoever's out there on the floor is going to scrap and be tough and not back down.
Yeah, I like that. I like the effort they gave tonight. And I thought the body language and the aggressiveness to start the game was better than what we saw in the homestand with San Antonio, Brooklyn, and Utah.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what it is about the road. They're playing better on the road than they are at home right now. And maybe that's that urgency of knowing that you have to get off to a good start on the road. And, they were up late in the second quarter of this game. I think they shot, 58% in the first half. And that was without hitting threes. They only hit 4 threes in the first half. They hit 4 in the second, but that included, Watford's late, garbage time threes. But they only hit 4 threes in the first half, and they still scored 61 points and hit 58% of their shots. I mean, that means they were getting to the rim and to the paint, and they went to Nurk early, and he was playing well, and Simons was cutting, and guys were getting to the rim and just finding ways to score other than with the three. I mean, 111 points isn't a lot in today's NBA, right? I mean, it's around middle of the pack average, but they scored 111 points hitting 8 threes, and that's not what Blazer basketball has been for so long. So to see them do it in a different way than what we've seen living and dying by the three, even if they're not winning, it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, there's no question. And I guess what I've liked so much about the start to this year, Trav, is, it's really been strength in numbers where it's not just 1 or 2 guys, but in the wins, it's been multiple players who have made game-winning plays to help contribute to a victory. It's kind of a refreshing change from what we've seen over the last few years.
It is. I mean, we've seen, 3 or 4 game-winning go-ahead shots in the final 30 seconds of the game, and Dame has 0 of them. I mean, that's not what we expect from this team. And that's just one part of it. But, think about it this way, Chad. If I would have told you, on October 18th, the day before the season started, that Ant was going to miss the games that he missed, and Dame would miss the games that he missed, and Ant and Dame together would miss the games that they missed, and Nurk and Grant would miss games, and all these guys would miss games. Oh yeah, but they're going to be 10-7 and 6-3 on the road. You would have taken that every day.
Oh yeah,
because we know this stretch of this schedule was going to be really tough for the first 20, 25 games. This road trip's not going to be easy. And then coming home, that's not going to be easy. And really, I guess there really isn't much of an easy stretch in the schedule anyway, because all these teams are so even. But at 10-7, yeah, okay, 3-game losing streak. You look at it that way, that's not good. But at 10-7, with all the games that have been lost to injury by starters and key players, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
they've had 2 guys I think play every game this season.
Yeah, I think tonight was the 6th game that Dame has missed due to the calf. 6th game in 17, they're 10-7. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so look at Utah, for example, right? I think they have all of their starters have either played every single game or only missed one. Okay, they're winning, they're having success, but they're also not injured. They're not having to go down the list until the Conley injury a couple nights ago. So like you look at some of these teams that are winning games, they're doing it with a full healthy roster. This team has not been healthy really at all this year. The starting lineup that we saw on opening night has played I think half of the games, and we haven't even seen the guy that they brought in to be their defensive stopper in a single game yet, and still might not see him for another week or two or a month. Who knows? So of course there are a lot of things you can look at. Say, okay, that needs to be better. They need to stop turning the ball over. They need to stop getting into situations where they're stagnant on offense. They need to stop coming out with slow starts. Yeah, all that stuff. But when you consider the context of how few games these guys have all played together, and I'm not just talking about this year, right? Jeremy Grant is new. Josh Hart never played with Damian Lillard. Justice Winslow had never played with Damian Lillard. You and I talk about this every single year. The teams that have the most continuity get off to the best starts. The Blazers had far from the most continuity, and they've gotten off to a really good start. So I feel like while there are so many things to clean up and there are some things that you can look at and say, okay, this has held them back, it just means the only place they can go is up.
You probably know this number off the top of your head, so I'm going to ask, how many games have Dame and Ant started together?
7, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think it's 7.
Yeah, so I had someone reach out to me last night, and they're like, man, it doesn't seem like Dame and Ant work together. I'm like, how would we know? They haven't really had a chance to play. And that's the chemistry like that just takes time.
It does. And when you talk to Ant before the season, like he has acknowledged that most of his time on the floor in his career has not been with Damian Lillard, right? Because he was either getting big-time minutes last year when Dame was out, or when he would come in the game, it would be to spell Dame, and he'd be on the floor with CJ. And Dame and Ant have just not logged a lot of minutes together. Yeah, practice is one thing, but in game situations and the flow of the offense, when you also have a power forward that you've never played with and a small forward that you've basically never played with in your starting lineup, there is very little continuity, and it takes time. Are things going to look better in Game 60? Well, if they play more games together, yeah, I would certainly hope so. But there's just do we know if does it work for sure? I don't know because we haven't seen it. It might not.
All right, Travis, we had talked about it right before you called, but you just got to watch it live with our guy Giannis. How many 7-footers have you seen who are built like legit tanks but run like cheetahs down the court?
The things that he does, it's like it's not fair, right? Because he takes like 3 steps and he goes from one free throw line to the other end of the floor in the basket, and then his arms are so long that he can be at like the elbow, get pushed away, and still get a finger roll to land, or like he doesn't even have to like be near the basket to be able to dunk it. His mid-range jumper is great. He obviously can't shoot a free throw worth a lick, but his mid-range, like he's turned into a really good mid-range shooter. And all that stuff it's just scary, man. He comes out of nowhere.
Like I don't know how you keep him out of the paint. Like the Blazers, I thought Eubanks and Nurk played pretty well tonight. I don't know how it's so hard to have a team defense to be able to make that happen, because once he gets in there, it's easy for him.
Yeah, and I thought Jeremy Grant played some good one-on-one defense with him at times tonight too. But you can't keep him out of there, right? Like the only way that you can keep him out of there is by, not letting the passes get to him inside, because he's getting offensive rebounds, he's getting lobs, he's cleaning up the garbage, all that stuff. But when he's like out on the elbow or out on the wing and he sees a seam and he takes off, you are not going to stop him. Like in the same way that LeBron James, when he gets ahead of steam, you're not stopping him. So just get out of the way because you're only going to get a foul. Really the only way to do that is just like prevent him from posting up and getting those opportunities. Maybe you hedge, maybe you bring another defender over when he's trying to post up and get cute and try and, double and catch him off guard. But he's too good and he's too smart.
Travis, Chad asked you about that arena and how nice it was. According to my my social media memories that pop up, it was 3 years ago yesterday, I think it was, that you and I were taking a road trip to the outskirts of Milwaukee to go see a baseball stadium, my man.
Yeah, so this is the third time in 5 years we have played the Bucks on November 21st.
Not
It's
wild.
really weird that we've played them the same date. And that's one of my favorite memories with you, Chris, because you and I, did all kinds of things, but like to go over there and yes, it was cool to see the Hank Aaron statue. It was cool to see Miller Park or whatever they call it now. But really the best part of that was going over to the Little League field that is built right next door to whatever they're calling Miller Park. And that is like, wow, that's the home plate where Willie Mays Hayes took home in Major League, because that's where they filmed Major League.Ose are the home games. And like thinking about that and seeing the Bob Uecker statue and reenacting Major League, like, wow, that's where Jake Taylor pointed to the center field bleachers before he bunted. That was the best part of that.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, which Trailblazer has been the most surprising to you so far this year?
Eubanks. It's Eubanks 1 and Justice Winslow 2. And like what's fascinated me about Justice Winslow is that like he's got the same temperament 100% of the time, and he has done everything efficiently, whether it's point guard, small forward, power forward, center, defense, whatever he's done it efficiently, and he's done it almost quietly, right? But Eubanks has a presence out there. It's not just the fact that he can make plays. And down the stretch of the game against Utah, he was the one who was out there in the fourth quarter. The tap back rebounds, his ability to get to the rim, blocking shots. I mean, how many times does he come up with a big block and like, how did Drew Eubanks get that? And to me, like just his presence out there, and that I don't want to go with like what everybody else is saying, the dog in him, because I think it's at this point it's a little overdone. But there's just something about him that has that extra energy and explosiveness that he's way more athletic than I thought he was.
And that's exactly how I would put it. I'd go Eubanks 1 and Winslow 2. And I know the dog gets played out with the way they're talking about all the time. But what Chris and I have noticed, it's nice when you hear these guys using the phrase dog. We're talking about defense, like they're taking on the personality of their coach, Trav. That's what's happening. They're speaking and saying the things that he probably tells them all the time. He's getting them. He's reaching them.
He is. And I was talking to Joe Cronin before the game tonight, and we were just kind of shooting the breeze. And, he had said something about, this team is really, we got guys who can buy into Chauncey's mentality on the floor. And you can't recreate, the 04, 05 Pistons. You can't do that. But that type of fight, that doesn't go away because the style of basketball is played in the league. There are ways to be physical and ways to be that kind of dog and ways to use that and be successful, even though the rules aren't what they were 18, 20 years ago. And to have somebody when Dame is healthy, obviously, and when Ant is healthy, to be able to do the things they do. I mean, just look at the heater Ant was getting on tonight, right? He just wasn't getting any open shots for a while. And you combine that with the hardworking guys like Winslow and Hart and Eubanks, who even Watford, when the game was out of hand, Watford's in there making plays, and there's just not enough of a spot in the rotation for him right now. It's awesome to see that because you never feel like they're going to give up, and we've seen too many times over the years where it's like, okay, they're down 10 with a minute 40 to go, like might as well pack up and leave. Even if it didn't end up being, a win, there was still something at the end that was worth watching.
Hey, by the way, I love the Yakima Yaks reference tonight. That was beautiful.
Yeah, you like that? Marjan Beauchamp from the former Yakima Yak.
It is. When you said it, all I could think about was like Ace Ventura. Now it's time for a yak. But I know the Yakima Yaks because I know someone that lives out in Yakima, and it's like only a play-by-play announcer or someone that lives in Yakima would know that. I thought it was special. That was good.
Well, you know our good friend Jamie Hudson, right?
Yep.
Her brother played baseball for the Yakima Yaks, and apparently he played AAU basketball with Marjan Beauchamp.
That's awesome.
And we saw him last night at Shake Shack, and I was with her husband John, and he was telling me about that because I did his bio and everything, and I saw that he went to Yakima. And apparently he played AAU basketball before he was a Yakima Yak with Jamie's brother.
That's so good. All right, before you go, probably the most important question of the night.
Yes.
Where is Aaron Judge going to end up? Because there are reports that he might have been bumping around San Francisco today.
Yeah, he probably was in San Francisco. They're going to offer him money. You know, I don't know. Here's what I'm hoping, right? Because my fear in this whole thing is that they're going to offer him $400 million over like 12 or 13 years. He's going to get it, and pitchers are going to figure out that all they have to do is throw him hard breaking balls, and he's going to swing and miss at everything. And he's going to strike out 300 times and hit 208 with 40 home runs. That's not what I want to see. So I'm nervous. And apparently, from everything that I've read, he and Anthony Rizzo got really, really close in the last year and a half. Rizzo's coming back, and I'm hoping that is enough to bring Judge back to the Yankees.
And now, a yak.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. He's playing.
Okay.
He's playing a little.
I can't hear it.
Oh, he can't hear it. Travis can't hear it.
Peanut?
He's still working on all the buttons there. He's playing the whole yak sounder from Ace Ventura, which is terrific.
Oh,
I enjoyed that. Oh,
I also heard they're going after DeGrom, so that'd be nice too.
Oh yeah, that would be. I'd be okay with that. One other question I had for you. I can't discuss the contents of it, but you'll know what it is. That whole thing that Darren Ravel tweeted out about Mickey Mantle and the letter that he wrote. Dude,
yeah,
is that real?
It is, I've seen that floating around for years. From everything that I understand, it is real. That is not just Darren Ravel finding something magical. I have talked to some people who, through some channels, have known some things about the Yankees for years. And I who knows, maybe it's a legend, but I have been told that is indeed real. And I screenshotted it and sent it to my wife, and I said, "This is who we named our son after."
That's great.
What was Hannah's response?
She just laughed.
Oh,
well, have you ever seen the movie 61?
No, I have not. Have you seen 61, Chris?
Yes.
I have not.
Okay, so it's a really good. It was a made for HBO movie. It was directed by Billy Crystal, and it was actually really, really well done. And Thomas Jane pulled off a really good Mickey Mantle, and Barry Pepper pulled off a really good Roger Maris. But there's a scene in the very beginning of that where they're talking, and there's a lot of stuff that's very of that kind of Mickey Mantle's persona. And he mentioned something. I think he said it to one of the reporters. I don't remember exactly, but he said something about liking girls with small hands, and it was something along those lines. It's like, yeah, that's. I'm sure Mickey Mantle said that once or twice.
Oh gosh, I'm so proud of you for screenshotting that and sending it over to Hannah. That's amazing. Well, dude, I'm so glad that it worked out. Oh, by the way, I would imagine you're going to be able to spend Thanksgiving with mom and dad, the family?
Yeah, I'm going to take an early train up and go spend Thanksgiving with my parents. So that'll be a good time.
Dude, that's so cool. Tell your parents I said hi, and I'm glad you had a chance to jump on. Dude, I miss you. It's great to catch up with you.
Was it so good that it's making you laugh?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I just am remembering all the funny times that we had together and how you make me laugh. So I appreciate that. Yeah,
I'm sure that's really it. But, Chad, I miss you, too. I miss phrasing with you, and yes. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy, there you go. Travis Demers, voice of your Portland Trailblazers here on the fifth quarter. And right now it's time for the shot of the night. So let's go ahead and hit that.
It's time for the Nothing But Net Shot of the Night here on the fifth quarter, 620 Rip City Radio. The Nothing But Net Shot of the Night is brought to you by Oregon Dungeness Crab. Sustainably harvested, uniquely delicious, and always wild. Oregon Dungeness Crab always sounds good for dinner.
2 minutes gone by in the period. The Blazers have scored the last 6 points to cut it to 11. Simons off the screen, three-pointer, buries it. 9-0 Trailblazers run, and now it's an 8-point game, 96-88. Ant's got 25.
All right, fifth quarter, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. It's good to hear from Travis, Chris. See, I forget that, but you spent years on the road, so you hung out with all the broadcast crew on various road trips, like long hours with everyone, including Trav.
Mainly Travis. That was my guy. But we did. We went out there to find Miller Park, the old Milwaukee County Stadium. Me and I went around, met some friends in Atlanta of his one night. Like, if we had a chance to get out and see a ballpark, we would. Like, man, being on the road with Trav was absolutely wonderful. I got to tell you, though, and he loves that I tell this story, and I say that he probably doesn't, but we were in New Orleans one time. NOLA, like food city of all food cities, right? I'm like, hey, we're going out to dinner. You know, you gonna come out tonight? He's like, no, I'm like real busy because like you guys don't understand. This guy works crazy hard at night because if you've ever seen his little note sheet he takes,
They're ridiculous.
yeah. So he's like, hey, I'm working on the game. I'll hit you up for breakfast. I'm like, okay. So I wake up the next day. I'm like, all right, Trav, I'm hungry, dude. Let's have some breakfast. Where are we going? Again, New Orleans, one of the best food cities in the world. He's like, yeah, man, I'm at IHOP. Come meet me. IHOP? Best food city in the world, and you want me to go eat at IHOP?
He and I used to get in arguments all the time because he's not into the local food scene in Portland. So he was always going to like some of those type of shops. Like his big thing on the road is to go to Waffle House.
Yeah, well, he and Jamie and other people on that, like everybody on the broadcast team loves Waffle House. I never went. I went one time. I walked in. It's like midnight. I'm like, nope, this ain't for me.
Dude, that's why one of the things we did when I moved down to the Bay Area, with the morning show I was on, we did this breakfast tour. So for like 6 months, we went out to different breakfast spots once a week. And so we got to go to all these different local spots. I love that because you get a chance to get a feel for the local flavor. So what I like to do now when I go to different cities I haven't been to, I don't want the chain. Give me the local place that people know about that live there.
Yep.
And then you get a feel for what it's all about.
Yep. I mean, I'll hit the chain every once in a while because sometimes it just feels good. But the thing was, I would hit chains that we didn't have. Like, for the longest time, I'd go hit, like, a Shake Shack. But now we have a Shake Shack, so it's like, nope, that's not worth it on the road anymore.
Well, when he and I went back to Philadelphia for Army-Navy, like, they've got these gas stations there / quickie marts called Wawas.
Mm-hmm.
They're awesome. You walk in, they've got, like, the espresso counter where you can get coffee. They've got, like, a hoagie place where you can get your sandwich. Like, they got everything in there. And I'm like, why don't we have these out on the West Coast? We're getting robbed out here. We need places like that.
And we're starting to step our game up. But we're way behind.
All right, let's keep things rolling. We've got a stat of the night that we're going to get to, and we've got our drive of the night, and we're still available if you'd like to talk, 503-248-0620. Bucks over the Blazers, 119-111. Big thanks to Travis Demers for jumping on board. Next game will come up on Wednesday, 4 o'clock tip in Cleveland. We'll have game day, Chris and I, starting at 1:30 here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, fifth quarter here on 620 Rip City Radio. Also live on YouTube. Go to our Rip City Radio YouTube page and click on the live link. Blazers fall tonight, 119 to 111. Next game coming up Wednesday in Cleveland. That game will tip off at 4 o'clock. Let's get you up to date around the association.
The fifth quarter on 620 Rip City Radio presents the Scoreboard Report, brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill, A-Linnae's ultimate venue for sports fans every Monday night, featuring beer and wing specials and more.
All right, halftime right now in Los Angeles. The Clippers lead the Jazz 66 to 56. John Wall with 13 points and 7 assists. A final in Cleveland, the Cavs over the Hawks 114 to 102. Donovan Mitchell 29 points, 9 assists and 3 steals. The Blazers will meet the Cavs on Wednesday. From Indiana, the Pacers rout the Magic 123 to 102. TJ McConnell 19 points, 10 assists. From Chicago, the Bulls 121. The Celtics 107. DeMar DeRozan, 28 points and 8 rebounds. From Minnesota, the Timberwolves over the Heat, 105 to 101. Miami now just 7 and 11 on the year. Karl Anthony Towns, 25 points, 8 boards, 9 assists. The Pelicans rout the Warriors tonight, 128 to 83. Brandon Ingram had 34 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals. Your starters tonight for the Warriors, Kuminga, Lamb, Looney, DiVincenzo, and Poole. And one more final to give you. The Knicks over the Thunder in OKC, 129 to 119. Jalen Brunson with 34 points and 9 assists. The Knicks will be game number 3 on Portland's 4-game road trip coming up on Friday. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number, and that is your NBA scoreboard report. You can follow me on Twitter at Chad in Rip City, at Chad in Rip City. Let's get to the drive of the night.
It's time for the Portland Trailblazers Drive of the Night, here on the fifth quarter, hosted by Chad Dewing, 620 Rip City Radio. Drive of the Night is brought to you by Dick's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Wilsonville, ready to compete with the lowest prices in town.
Simons gets a screen, takes it to the free throw lines, drives through, running hook, banks it in, 29 for Ant.
In a game like this, that's what you get with drive of the night or shot of the night. Not a lot to choose from. Slim pickings.
I feel so bad, but there was no mega dunk that I remember. At that point, they were down by 20, but I was like, hey, it's a drive.
The best play of the night was probably the Eubanks block early in the game on Bobby Portis.
That doesn't count as a shot of the night.
What can you do? What can you do? There's going to be nights like this. That's why it's a long season. It's such a marathon. That's why you can't get, too high or too low. And there's going to be games where they just don't put it all together, don't make shots. There'll be nights where they get whacked. There'll be nights when they're on fire and can't miss a shot. And, the key is to find some sort of consistency there. The biggest thing I'm looking for right now is just, continued development when it comes to their defense, staying connected, communication, contesting the three-point line, and then offensively just continuing to work on the principles, moving the basketball, moving bodies, using the motion offense, and getting guys in position to have the best looks possible. And if that means you got to pass up a good shot for another one, for a teammate, then you do it. And hopefully that will continue to come together as the season progresses. All right, stat of the night, let's do it.
It's time for the fifth quarter Stat of the Night with Chad Dewing. Stat of the Night is presented by Snapple. Snapple, new look, same great taste.
All right, the key stat tonight for me, it's pretty easy to see, but it's the points in the paint. Milwaukee outscored Portland 56 to 46, and they connected on 28 of their 42 shots in the paint. And that really comes down to Giannis. He was able to get his position. He had a ton of easy looks, finished with 37 points, connected on 16 of 24 from the field. He also pulled down 7 rebounds and 6 assists. And we knew going in that was going to be the factor, right? How can you limit Giannis and force him away from the basket to where he's settling? And they couldn't do it. He's a hard guard. It's tough. It's not fair, as Travis put it. Or as Chris said, a tank that runs like a cheetah. No tank I've ever seen aside from Giannis can move like that.
Yeah, I'm sticking to that one. That's tank the runs like a cheetah, man. It is. It's unreal.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to all of you for listening and for chatting it up on YouTube. Our final score tonight from Fiserv Arena, the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. The Bucks take out the Trailblazers 119-111. Our next broadcast is going to come up on Wednesday. Game day for the Cavs will start at 1:30. Trailblazer pregame show at 3. Tip-off is at 4. And, of course, Chris and I will be back here on 620 Rip City Radio and on YouTube, live streaming the 5th quarter. Well, my friend, thanks for all your efforts tonight, Burkhart. You're the man.
No, thank you. I'm glad we did this tonight. I'm glad we had, like I said, forged in fire, baby. It's fun.
All right, tomorrow morning, Justin Myers, Rip City Morning starting at 6. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and I at 3. We'll have our conversation with Alex Brink, college football and NFL insider. Also a conversation with Jonathan Smith ahead of Saturday's game, Oregon and Oregon State. For Chris Burkhardt, I'm Chad Doing. Have a good night, my friends.